Now, this will probably be the most startling thing I'll say tonight. I'm going to prove to you who they are. You see, I knew 25 years ago. After all, I sat with them. I listened to them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. By the providence of God. No other way. Who are they? Let's start the chain. Any product, I care not what it may be. A flag, a picture, a table, a chair, whatever it may be. There is, first of all, a manufacturer. Then the manufacturer sells it to a wholesaler. Then the wholesaler sells it to an in-between man who sells it to the retailer, and the retailer sells it to you. It's a chain. It's true in almost every product. I care not what it is. It's also true in oil. The only thing is, you don't know who the in-between man is because they don't tell you, but I'm going to tonight. First of all, there is the oil-producing country of the world, and I'm going to take as an example the one that you recognize and hear most about, Saudi Arabia. They bring it out of the ground. You know what it costs to bring a barrel of crude oil out of the ground in Saudi Arabia? $5. You know what it costs to bring a barrel of crude oil out of the ground at Prudhoe Bay, Alaska? $3. I didn't say transport it. I didn't say refine it. I said bring it out of the ground. It cost Saudi Arabia $5, cost the North Slope of Alaska $3 from our own soil. Why are you paying $3 at the gas pump recently? Why are you going to pay $4 and $5 and $6 at the gas pump in the very near future? Mark my words. You're going to call me on the phone and say, Lindsey Williams, you were a prophet the night you came to this forum. You mark my words, you will. And I'm going to tell you no. I tried to warn you. You can't drive these freeways at $4 and $5 a gallon and go back and forth to work and put food on your table. You have to depend on the automobile in California, and you'll be taking food off the table to put in the gas tank so you can run it out your exhaust pipe. You mark my words. It's already planned. How do I know? Who gets the profit? First, there's the oil-producing country. Then there is someone else that you don't know about. Thirdly, there's the oil company. Oh, all-time record profits. They say, we've never seen them make such profits. That's exactly right. They've never made profits before like they're making right now. They're not making anything compared to what that in-between man makes. And then there's a little service station attendant. Oh, sure, he's happy when it goes to $3 and $4 a gallon. He's making a few more cents per gallon. And he just thinks that the world has arrived at his house. Who is the person who is making this big in-between amount? Well, I know what you want me to do now. You're expecting me to get ethnic, aren't you? You want me to talk about some family, don't you? I'm not going to do it. Because I know better. I know who they are. I lived with them for 3 years. Who are they? I'm going to call them by name. I'm not beating around the bush. I'm just trying to get you prepared for a startling statement that you probably have never heard before. Who are they? Who's this in-between person? They sit behind the computers in New York and London every day, and they tell OPEC what they're going to give them for a barrel of oil for that day. They told Ken Fromm they were going to $10 per barrel, and he called up this little missionary out there in the bush of Alaska and said, Lindsey, tell people when you go around for your speaking engagements that we're going to $10 a barrel. How did he know it? Because they knew it. They sit behind the computers in New York and London every day and tell every oil-producing country in the world what they're going to give them for a barrel of oil for that day, and they are the only ones that know what they're going to give them. And they're making exorbitant profits. I'd like to give you an example of one of the profits they're making. You heard recently, you probably didn't recognize it. You see, the only difference between me and the average person is I know their buzzwords. If you'll listen to the powers that be, you listen to Mr. Greenspan. He tells you the truth. You just don't understand his buzzwords. You listen to the head of Exxon who testified before Congress here just recently. You listen to what he said. You didn't know what he was talking about because you didn't know his buzzwords. He everything but told Congress, get off my back, or else. I know what the or else was. Why? Because I lived with them for 3 years. Who are they? You remember just recently? You heard on the news. I mean, it was all across America. I heard it on the national news. World Bank, IMF, forgive all third world countries their loans. Did they? Did you know what they were talking about? No. You didn't know what they were talking about. I did. Where'd they get the money from to forgive all of those third world countries their loans? You. Where'd they get it from? Gas pump. $2.50, $3 a gallon. You've forgotten the days of 25 cents a gallon, haven't you, back in the 60s? Got a very short memory. Well, you're going to have a very good memory when it goes to $4 and $5 a gallon in the very near future, and you can't afford to put it in the gas tank any longer. You're going to remember what I've said tonight and wish you had taken more action than what you've been taking. Because you see, they could forgive all of those third world countries their loans. They in turn can see to it that the national debt of the United States of America is financed through the oil producing countries of the world. They can do every bit of it because their representatives sit behind the computers in New York and London every day and tell the oil producing countries of the world what they're going to give them for a barrel of oil for that day. And who are they? They're not the oil refineries. You're pointing your finger at the wrong people. And I don't work for them. And I never got 1 penny of remuneration or salary when I was on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. I was paid by my Baptist Mission Board. Alaska Pipeline Service Company never gave me 1 penny. I am not obligated them in any way. You are pointing the finger at the wrong people. The oil companies are making exorbitant profits. Sure they are. But who's making more than they are? The IMF and the World Bank. Who forgave the third world countries their loans? The IMF and the World Bank. How did they do it? You paid it. They diminished our lifestyle in order to give to those countries. Oh, you think for a moment's time that they're not going to make us on the level of a third world country within the next few years? They sure are, because you're going to pay for your own demise at the gas pump. There's only one thing that touches the life of every human being on the face of this earth, and that is crude oil. They chose it as a method of controlling the world in the early 60s, and now the World Bank are the ones that every day the transfer of oil from those third world countries to the oil refineries, and they're the ones making the exorbitant in-between profits, and you will never find it out by reading anybody's books. And I would have never known it had I not been there and had been told it. Goldman Sachs predicted that crude oil will reach $105 a barrel. Who makes the profit? The World Bank and the IMF. By the way, you getting tired? You sure? Nobody going to sleep? Okay, I'll give one more here if you don't mind. Are we running too long? Okay, I'll put this one in. I didn't give it last night.